Friends, if it is Monday night, it is indeed. Oh yes, it is indeed ridiculously raw. But let me tell you, folks, right now, um, Michael Fletcher just said it best. Just said it best on his Facebook just moments ago. Tonight we witnessed the swerve of the century, and we are all just still in a state of shock after what just happened. I mean, in a good way. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, we don't know what to think. That's all I can say right now. So, with that being said, I got to do it right. If it's Monday night, oh yes, it is ridiculously raw. Hello, friends. It's ridiculously over. Anthony Flair here with you for this very exciting edition of Ridiculously Raw, as history was indeed made, and we just could not believe how it happened. And we're gonna have a lot to say on that in just a little bit. But my goodness, what a way! I mean, that's all I can say right now. We're all, some are marking out, some are livid. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it, but we're gonna have to channel do our best here. So I'm joined as always by the Cerebral Viper and host of the Cerebral Smack Talk, Michael Fletcher. We got the Phenom, Michael Bullock. We got the Twisted Angel, Dee Dee Woodson, the First Lady of the Wrestling Forum. I mean, and yeah, the Wrestling Forum. I mean, goodness gracious. I don't even know how we're gonna get through this show with but we're gonna have to try our best, to get through everything else. So all right, let's. But before we do that, I mean, I know we were all excited about what we just witnessed, and rightfully so. But we do have to be serious for a minute, and of course, we would acknowledge right now the passing, yet another passing. Of course, this has been the year of close to home deaths, and we've had way too many of them this year, and of course we have another one. And I'm not at all surprised that we were going to end up having another one of these stories. But Harry Fujiwara, better known to all of us in the WWE universe as Mr. Fuji, or in some people's cases, Master Fuji, passed away Sunday morning. He was 82 years old. Cause of death unknown at this time. But of course, we here at the Wrestling Forum, send our thoughts and prayers and condolences to the family, friends, and colleagues of Mr. Fuji, and one of the greatest of all time, one of the greatest managers of all time. I remember some time ago, I mean years ago, we did a power rankings of the greatest managers in the history of wrestling, and I'm almost certain he was in that list. And I mean, you look at everything he's done in the world of professional wrestling. I mean, he was in business for 31 years. He debuted as a wrestler in 1965 under his in his native Hawaii under the ring name Mr. Fujiwara, and he started with the NWA. He was in the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, Georgia Championship Wrestling, and went to the territories and everything else. And he had three managers. He was a wrestler, and he had three managers, all very well known, of course. Captain Lou Albano, Classy Freddie Blassie, and the Grand Wizard. They've all since passed on. And look at the names of wrestlers he managed in his illustrious career. He managed George the Animal Steele. He managed the Magnificent Morocco, Cowboy Bob Orton, the Moondogs, Killer Khan, Jim the Anvil Neidhart at one point, Sika, Kamala, Demolition, of course, which he's best known for, the Powers of Pain, the Berserker, the Orient Express, Crush, Yokozuna, Owen Hart, the British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith, and Jeff Jarrett. In his illustrious career, he was an AWA Southern Tag Team Champion in the Continental Wrestling Association with Toru Tanaka. Those two men would also win the NWA Georgia Tag Team Championship down in Georgia Championship Wrestling. In Maple Leaf Wrestling, he was an NWA Canadian Heavyweight Champion. Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling with Tenaru, he was a Tag Team Champion, NWA Mid-Atlantic Tag Team Champion. Was inducted into the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame in 2013. Mid-Pacific Promotions, he was a two-time NWA Hawaii Tag Team Champion with Curtis Iakea and Carl Von Steger. In NWA New Zealand, he was the NWA British Commonwealth Heavyweight Champion. In NWA San Francisco, he was the NWA United States Heavyweight Champion, San Francisco version on one occasion. Pacific Northwest Wrestling, NWA was an NWA Pacific Northwest Heavyweight Champion, one occasion, and then on 4 occasions was an NWA Pacific Northwest Tag Team Champion 3 times with Haru Sasaki and 1 time with Tony Bourne. Pro Wrestling Illustrated ranked him number 445 of the 500 best singles wrestlers during the PWI years in 2003. NWA Southeastern Tag Team Champion, once again with Toru Tanaka in Southeastern Championship Wrestling. IWA World Tag Team Champion, 1 time with Tiger Jeet Singh in WCW Australia. Of course, in the WWF and WWF WWE, was a 5-time WWF and WWF Tag Team Champion, 3 times with Toru Tanaka and 2 times with Mr. Saito, and was, of course, inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2007. Very notable class, of course, that included the American Dream Dusty Rhodes, good old JR Jim Ross, Jerry the King Lawler, Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig, just to name a few on that end. In the World Wrestling Council, he was a WWC North American Heavyweight Champion 1 time, and was also a WWC North American Tag Team Champion 1 time with Pierre Martel. And in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, from 1984 to 1995, he was actually awarded the worst manager of the year. I don't know why, but he was. But nonetheless, 82 years old. He died at his home in Clarksville, Tennessee. No cause of death has been revealed, but nonetheless, he had a couple of nicknames. He was known as, one of his nicknames was Fooge the Stooge. Of course, that was Demolition. But the one that he'll forever be known as, Gorilla Monsoon. You remember when Gorilla Monsoon was doing his awesome commentary, he would always call him the Devious One. And yeah, that brings back memories right there. So, but nonetheless, Mr. Fuji, a great wrestler in his day. Like I said, a numerous time tag team champion. Took part in one of the craziest matches in the WWE's history. A best 3 falls out of 5, 10-man tag team match in the old Philadelphia Spectrum. I don't know, it was like 83, 84 in that neighborhood. He was on a team with Morocco and Ray the Crippler Stevens, and there were 2 other guys. I forgot who they were. I think Superstar Billy Graham was on that team as well, and I forgot who the other guy was. But they went up against Andre the Giant, Superfly Jimmy Snuka, Pedro Morales, Salvatore Bellomo, and Rocky Johnson. That match is on YouTube. Check it out. And of course, you remember he also wrestled in WrestleMania 5, 3-on-2 handicap match, him and the Powers of Pain against Demolition for the Tag Team Championship. And then from there, Bullock informed me that he one time teamed up with the Berserker to go up against the Undertaker. That's news to me. I don't remember that match, and I've been watching wrestling for a long, long time. And
well, Florio, remember that they used to have this thing called the Undertaker, like gravest matches on Coliseum Video?
Oh, that's right. Yep. Okay.
That match was on there.
Oh, now I remember. Okay. Yep. Sometimes I need a little reminder. So Bullock, I give you credit for that one. So we're going to take a few minutes here, and we're going to pay our respects to Mr. Fuji, and we're going to share our favorite Mr. Fuji memories. And I just gave you some of mine right there. That 10-man tag, that 3 falls out of 5. Andre the Giant's team, of course, won that match. They won it 3 falls to 1, by the way. It didn't go the distance, but it was a wild and chaotic match. You got to check it out on YouTube. And of course, the Demolition thing. I mean, he managed Demolition, and when they won the WWE Tag Team Championship at WrestleMania 4, it began the longest Tag Team Championship reign of any team in history, 478 days. Of course, he was with them for like half of that. For the first 8 months. 8 months later, you all remember at Survivor Series, he turned on Demolition to go with the Powers of Pain, and unfortunately that didn't go over well, but it led to that match at WrestleMania 5, which Fuji took the pin, by the way, from Axe in that match at WrestleMania 5, and of course he managed Yokozuna. He was the manager of Yokozuna when Yokozuna became the WWE World Heavyweight Champion on a couple of occasions. I mean, WrestleMania 9 when he defeated Bret Hart. Fuji was instrumental in that when he threw the salt in Bret Hart's face and allowing Yokozuna to win the title. And then, of course, the Hogan thing happened, and we're not going to get into that. And then, of course, Yoko would get the belt back at the King of the Ring, and Fuji was there by his side, along with, of course, James E. Cornette, the American spokesperson. And Yoko had a very long reign as champion. He held it for about 9-10 months before dropping it to Bret Hart at WrestleMania 10. So, but Fuji was a manager of champions. You heard the laundry list of guys that he managed, and anytime that you're a wrestler and you have three of the greatest managers in history, you know, Captain Lou Albano, who managed more tag team champions than anybody, like 19 or 20 teams that he managed the tag team titles, and of course, Classy Freddie Blassie, we know his resume, and of course, the Grand Wizard. I mean, we know the Grand Wizard. I mean, we know his body of work as well. But nonetheless, though, one of the greatest managers of all time, and you know, he's surely going to be remembered. And then, of course, going into that 2007 Hall of Fame class, you know, that was a very good Hall of Fame class too. I mean, he was in that with JR and Jerry the King Lawler and Mr. Perfect, and you know, just to name a few in that area. So and Dusty Rhodes, of course. So. But nonetheless, Mr. Fuji, you will be greatly missed. And as I always like to say here, when we have a death of anybody, to Harry Fujiwama, better known as Mr. Fuji, thank you for the memories, thank you for the inspiration, and thank you for Mr. Fuji, or Master Fuji in this case. Cerebral Viper, Michael Fletcher.
Yes, indeed.
Your thoughts, your favorite memories of the devious one, Mr. Fuji.
You know, when I heard the news that Fuji passed away, it was sad. My heart breaks. It was a very tough situation, but I think we all can agree that it was only a matter of time before it was going to happen. Apparently, I heard some rumors going around that he wasn't really good, and I have some wrestling insiders, that people that I knew that were very close, and that we knew Fuji wasn't really doing great in the last few months, and so it's heartbreaking because he's one of the guys I grew up with, you know, especially in the early '90s as a manager for Demolition, then the Powers of Pain, the Orient Express. And most notably, and I really want to commend WWE for that tremendous tribute that they gave to them tonight. I thought that was beautifully done, as always. They served the justice. It was justified, and I think it was a great tribute to Mr. Fuji. And I think us wrestling purists and the WWE fans, we would have been absolutely furious if there wasn't some kind of acknowledgement or something for Mr. Fuji. So for them to do what they did was absolutely perfect. I think it was perfectly well tasted. It was tremendous tribute, well deserved for a tremendous human being, a tremendous person. And like you said, you know, we always used to despise what Mr. Fuji did with the ceremonial salt, and you know, some of the cheating ways, you know, beating the opponents up with the cane, those sneak attacks from behind the referee's back that used to be, you know, perfectly fine for Jesse the Body Ventura or even Bobby Heenan, as they were always praising, where either Gorilla Monsoon or Vince McMahon was like, oh, come on, look at what Fuji's doing. One of the more notable moments that I think Anthony and I used to get a good kick out of was WrestleMania 5, when he did that Boardwalk 5K for WrestleMania weekend. You know, how it looked like he kind of, you know, hitched a ride hitched a ride on a cart, and basically he was driving for at least a good few couple of miles. Got to the end, made it to the end of the run, and did in reasonable time. And I remember that argument between Gorilla and Jesse, that iconic argument between Gorilla and Jesse, just before the World Wrestling Federation Tag Team title fight with Demolition, the fight that Anthony alluded to, with the unique 3-on-2 rules. So, I mean, at the end of the day, my heart does go out to the entire Fuji family, and I truly want to say that it was a joy and an honor to witness him, and just to know that he was. And I remember we did that poll, and I remember he was in our top 5. As a matter of fact, I believe he was in our top 3 of greatest managers of all time. I think the only one that was, I think number 1 was Bobby Heenan, and I believe Mr. Fuji was definitely in number 2, number 3 range. So no doubt about it, he was well deserving of the honor. Hall of Famer, Anthony alluded to, where I believe that's probably one of the top 5 greatest Hall of Fame classes of all time. I think we all can agree with that one. So yes, indeed, my heart goes out to Fuji and his family, and we wish you nothing but the best, guys. Michael Bullock, I give it to you, my friend.
Yeah, yeah, it was definitely sad to find out about the passing of Mr. Fuji yesterday, but as you guys said, I mean, it was only a matter of time before it was going to happen, because, well, he is getting up there in age, and plus his health was starting to decline, and but yeah, he's definitely going to go down as one of the greatest managers of all time. And I mean, yeah, Gorilla Monsoon, I remember he would always give him the nickname of the Devious One, and he managed so many great wrestlers like the Orient Express, like Yokozuna, like the Berserker, or the Powers of Pain, or Don Morocco, even Cowboy Bob Orton. Because remember, at that WrestleMania 3, when it was the Can-Am connection against Don Morocco and or the Magnificent Morocco, known at the time, and Cowboy Bob Orton. So yeah, and yeah, of course he's been known to wrestle. I mean, I didn't really see him that much as a wrestler. I only known him as when he was a manager, but like you said, I did see him like wrestle when he was part of that WrestleMania 5. When it was him and the Powers of Pain against Demolition. And then, of course, in that, what was that? Yeah, like I mentioned, The Undertaker's Gravest Matches from Coliseum Video. He did team up with the Berserker to take on The Undertaker, and, of course, we all know how that turned out. Yeah, good enough for me, with The Undertaker winning, and ironically ending with Fuji getting Tombstone. And the one thing I really got a kick out of was when Demolition would, after Mr. Fuji turned on him, was when he would they called him Fuge the Stooge. They said, "Yeah, I'm talking about you, Fuge the Stooge." I always get a kick out of that when Demolition said that, but yeah, I mean, he definitely, he deserved that honor going into the Hall of Fame in 2007, and yeah, that definitely goes as one of the great classes, probably one of the top 5. Because you also had Jerry the King Lawler, Jim Ross, Mr. Perfect. I could go on and on with the names, but yeah. All I can say is thoughts and prayers go out to the friends and family of Harry Fujiwara, known as Mr. Fuji. or Master Fuji as he used to say. But yeah, we love you and we'll miss you, and we thank you so very much for the memories that you provided during your professional wrestling career. So Godspeed, Mr. Fuji. So Didi Woodson, your thoughts on the career of Mr. Fuji, or Master Fuji as he would say?
I can't say I remember watching him wrestle too much, but I do remember, a lot of his managerial career. I also remember the little parodies that he would do, like the parody of Miami Vice, which was Fuji Vice, and stuff like that. It was, he might have been one of the great heel managers, but he was fun to watch, and he had such a long list of talents that he managed. I think one of the ones I remember watching him manage was George the Animal Steel. Of course, he managed Jim Neidhart, Davey Boy Smith, Owen Hart. So many talented wrestlers that we had in the past that paved the way for the guys we have now. And one of the teams he was the biggest known for managing was, of course, Demolition, and which you all pretty much kind of covered on that one. But I mean, it was just fun to watch him come out there and throw the salt or whatever he did to make sure that his team won the match. And it's sad to see him pass on, but he was one of the greats, and he deserved his place in the Hall of Fame, and he's going to be greatly missed as not only a talent, but as a manager and former member of so many wrestling organizations. But thoughts and prayers to the family, and kudos to WWE for the great tribute they did tonight, and we'll hopefully see him in the big wrestling match in the sky when we all get up there. So, Florio, it's yours.
All right, well said, everybody. And now we're going to shift gears here, and we're going to move on to our review of Monday Night Raw, which was live tonight from the Toyota Center in Houston, Texas, the home of the NBA's Houston Rockets. And boy, howdy, what a show they had tonight. And, tonight's show wasn't really the best show, but once we got to the main event, that's really when it kicked into high. So with all that being said, and I think since we're going to start our new review, I think we should keep the same order as we had it. I'll start it off, and then Fletch will go, and then we'll take it from there. I should have made that an open forum, really, but it is what it is. So, all right, let's get it going here. Started it off with an in-ring segment. We had Corey Graves. Corey Graves was served as the moderator for the opening segment. You had the four men who are going to be involved in the four-way main event for the Universal Championship. Roman Reigns, Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, and Big Cass. They were all in there, and they shared their thoughts on and everything else. To me, this was the second best segment of the night here, no question about it. I mean, it was a solid opening segment, and I'm happy they gave them the time to talk and set the stage for the main event. And we really thought that Houston was going to be kinder to Roman than Brooklyn was, but clearly not Roman country, because if you heard that crowd tonight in Houston, we thought we never really thought of Houston as an IWC city, but on this night, Houston was an IWC city. That is all I can say about that. And I liked everything all four guys said, and I mean that crowd was popping big for everybody, and Big Cass, talked about being the underdog in the match, and then there was a great back and forth with Cass and Owens. Owens and of course they talked about their respective partners, Enzo Amore and Chris Jericho, and then Rollins doing his usual heel shtick, and then Roman didn't really say anything. He just got up and fought. That's all he did. He wanted to pick a fight, and he picked the fight, and then all hell broke loose, and that was it. So normally this would be a recipe for a segment of the night, but I thought there was one other segment that was better in my eyes, and you're not going to believe who was in it. So that's all I'm going to say. So second best segment of the night for me. There's no 2-for-1 deal because the match that followed this had nothing to do with that overall first segment. So and wait till you hear what we have to say about that main event. Which, oh by the way, not a one-fall four-way match, an elimination fatal four-way match. So with that said, Michael Fletcher, your thoughts on that opening segment?
Yeah, yes indeed.
Yes, indeed. Sorry about that. I'm trying to work around here and try to get my mic back into order. I think after what happened last week, where I had microphone issues, now it looks like I got it. It seems like I'm good now, so everything's all clear on. I hope I'm on a 1P1 is what they call it. So no. Oh, I thought this was great. I loved everybody involved, and I love the fact that Roman Reigns is very little on talk now. That he's letting his actions speak louder than the words, and I think that's what he should be at all times. Roman is not that charismatic talker. He doesn't talk that great. He's not a good promo guy. I think WWE realizes that now. So now they're like, you know what? Let him just be him. Let him fight, let him scrap, let him brawl, let him do whatever he's got to do, and let him be the Roman Reigns that, the people used to remember him. They're trying to scale him back to the days of the Shield, where he talked a little, but his actions was a lot more. Like, you knew what you were going to see every time he got in the ring, and he fought, and he brawled, and he scrapped, and whatever. Owens is a great talker. Rollins is a great talker. Big Cass is decent on the mic skills. I think he needs to get a little better on the mic, and that's why they got Enzo Amore for him. Because Enzo, trash talker, Skywalker, this boy can do anything, man. Whatever he puts his mind into, the ad-libs are amazing. Whatever he brings to the table, he's amazing. Where definitely Big Cass is the better wrestler than Enzo Amore, where Enzo is the better talker of the group. That's why they work so good together, and that's why the fans love them so much. And you heard the crowd reaction for Big Cass tonight as well, case in point. So definitely great segment, great way to start Monday Night Raw. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, I do agree. I mean, this was definitely a great segment to start off Monday Night Raw. Second best segment of the night. I mean, I loved how everybody interacted. I mean, with Seth Rollins with his little promo, Kevin Owens with his, and I thought Kevin Owens was more over with the crowd. I mean, you heard that crowd with the Fight Owens Fight chant, and Big Cass. I mean, he got over as well, and Roman Reigns. I mean, when he was asked a question, he basically just let his actions speak louder than his words, and definitely a great build for that Fatal 4-Way elimination match for the Universal title. So, yeah, so great way to start off Raw. Second best segment of the night. There was one segment that was better, and we'll definitely talk about it. So Dee Dee Woodson, I give it to you.
I agree. Second best segment of the night. I think one of my favorite things was the fact that the fans keep trying to bring the "what" chant back. That was Stone Cold Steve Austin's big thing was what, and the fans are trying to do that again. And of course, Kevin Owens didn't want to play that game, so it was a great segment. Roman using his fists over words was very good. Of course, Seth Rollins arrogant as usual, and it's even though Cass isn't the best speaker, he had a couple of good shots in there. So it was fun to watch, and a great segment to open with. So I'll pass it back to Florio.
Alrighty, we're gonna move on now, and I forgot to warn you folks. There will be at points during this review there will be some cutouts that we're gonna do. We're gonna cut out some irrelevant stuff, and there's quite a bit of it. However, the next segment we're gonna get in, the next thing we're gonna get into is not one of those cutouts, because we had ourselves a matchup here, and a solid one at that. We had Chris Jericho going up against Adrian Neville. Winner of the match. I don't have a time of the fall, unfortunately. I'm sorry, guys. We're going to have to free swing it here. Chris Jericho wins the match with the Lion Tamer. We're going old school Chris Jericho. We're going WCW Chris Jericho. He wins it with the Lion Tamer. Had the knee behind the ear and everything. So Jericho wins that matchup. So, Michael Fletcher, your thoughts on this solid matchup?
2.5 stars. 2.5 stars is my rating for the fight. And how apropos is these two men? Because remember, this was the fight where Adrian Neville got hurt and broke his ankle. And he was gone for almost like a good 6 to 9 months. So I'm glad that they got to do this fight. It was a great matchup. Both guys looked really good in this battle, and I loved the chemistry, the psychology. It was a full circle type fight, and it was just a solid battle, and it just really brought a good attitude for the fans, and it was a real thrilling matchup, to say the very least. Now, at first, it looked like they're going to set up for the Red Arrow, so they were going for it, and Jericho was able to get out of it. And then, like you said, he went into the walls of Jericho, and you're thinking, all right, that's it. But then you saw him put that knee right in the side of his head. I'm like, oh my God, Lion Tamer. And basically wrenching the back. You can see it's in an arc angle. It's in a nasty position. Basically, you could fracture a rib, or you could do a lot of damage with a Lion Tamer. But thank God you got the tap out. The tap out happened relatively quick. Jericho didn't have to put that move on very long. And what a matchup! Great match. Solid 2.5 stars is my rating for the fight. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
I guess it's my turn now, since Fletcher's mic is muted now. So yeah, I do agree. 2.5 stars. I mean, I thought this was a solid match to start off the match portion of Raw, and yeah, I mean, I love the body of work of this match, and yeah, that Lion Tamer, whew, that's a nasty submission hold. I mean, you thought the Walls of Jericho was bad. Ooh, that Lion Tamer is a really nasty submission maneuver. So yeah, so nice win for Jericho, and yeah, there's really nothing more to say. So 2.5 stars. Dee Woodson, I give it to you.
Definitely 2.5 stars. Old school one out here. Jericho pulling out the old school punches, and showing why he's Chris Jericho, why he has had the success that he has. So 2.5 stars, and it's to you, Florio.
Yes, I do have to correct Michael Fletcher. Adrian Neville did not miss 6 to 9 months. He got hurt back in March. It was back on the March 14th edition of Monday Night Raw in Pittsburgh. That's where he fractured the ankle in that match with Jericho, and he was gone for about 3 to 4 months. I think he came back right around late June or sometime in July. I think he came back, so he was gone for about 3 to 4 months. So it wasn't 6 to 9 like Fletch initially had thought, but nonetheless, this is definitely one of the fights of the night. Not the fight of the night by any means. You already know what that is. We're going to get into that later, and we're going to have a lot to say about it, by the way, as well. But all I can say, I agree with the rating. Solid 2.5-star match. I mean, two guys who both have credible bodies of work. Jericho using the Lion Tamer rather than the Walls of Jericho. He explained in the past that he switched to the Walls of Jericho because it was easier to utilize when he was in the ring with bigger wrestlers. And that's something I wanted to point out. But yeah, I mean, solid matchup here. I mean, two guys who both are capable workers, are solid workers at best. So that's all I can say about that. So solid 2.5 stars. One of the top fights of the night for sure. Maybe second best fight of the night, if I'm being honest. All right, now we're gonna get into some irrelevant stuff here. This is the first of our cutouts here. We had another Nia Jax squash match. She squashed a young lady by the name of Hyon. Nia Jax won it in 1 minute and 20 seconds. And this young lady, Hyon, is Hyon Young Olvera. Notes that she is a Geico, and her Twitter page notes that she is a Geico employee by day and a pro wrestler by night. Beautiful girl, but yeah, she got squashed by Nia Jax, 1 minute and 20 seconds. So we're not going to really get into that at this time. And then we had another irrelevant match. Jinder Mahal was in the ring, and he went up against Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn won it with a haluva kick. That was another short match. I'm sure you guys are okay with us not getting into that because there wasn't really any value to that match anyway. I mean, we really didn't expect him to be a player in the WWE, but I wish they would have done a little something to prop him up before turning into...
Yeah, I'm fine not talking about it.
Yeah, I wish they would have done something to prop Mahal before turning him into a traveling enhancement wrestler so that it actually meant something when somebody went over him. But Zayn, I like that he sold the ankle, but I just wish they would have booked Zayn with an opponent whom viewers would have seen as a threat to beat him because of that ankle injury. And Jinder Mahal is not that guy, so that's just something I wanted to get into. All right, now we're back into some relevant action here. We had a 6-person intergender mixed tag team match, whatever you want to call it. We had the WWE Tag Team Champions, The New Day, Kofi Kingston and Biggie Langston, and it's Bayley going up against Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson, and Dana Brooke. Winners of the match in 13 minutes and 20 seconds, The New Day and Bayley, and Bayley won it with I believe it was the Bayley the Belly that she won it with on Dana Brooks. So with that being said, Michael Bullock, you started off, and we had some fun with this. We did our Raw chat tonight for the first time in a while because Bullock had plans the last couple of Monday nights. But boy, howdy, Bullock, we had a lot of fun with this. And what did we say about Bayley during this?
Boy, I mean, yeah, when it comes to this, I can't remember what was it that we said, Florio.
We had a little fun with it. I mean, you channeled your inner me. You were doing the "Hey Girl" and all that good stuff.
Yeah,
I was like that Bayley song that Michael Fletcher was doing last week, almost similar to that.
Yeah, well, when Bayley came out, well, that's pretty much my girl because I was saying, "Hey Girl."
Yes, sir.
Well, let's just say, well, you guys know that I'm a member of the Cesaro section. Well, now I'm a member of the Hooker section. Yes, because I really like Bayley, and I mean, it still flatters me why she finally got the call up before anybody else. But that's a story for another day. But I thought this was a solid six-person tag team match. I'll give it about 2.5. I'll give it 2.5 to maybe just teetering on 2 3/4. I mean, I thought the action was good for what it was, and I mean, yeah, Bailey continues to impress, and of course you saw Charlotte was on commentary tonight, and yeah, and of course you saw Bailey and the New Day doing they were basically dancing like crazy, but yeah, I mean but all in all, I mean the action I thought was solid for what it was. I mean, and I'm surprised it got this amount of time. I mean, I was thinking it was going to be a TV quality match, but no, I mean this went longer than expected. Yeah, Bailey once again getting the win, getting the pinfall on Dana Brooke, and looking at Charlotte, and you could already, I mean, we're all in agreement here. You know it's going to be Bailey and Charlotte for the women's title at the Clash of the Champions on September 25th. So yeah, so there's really nothing more to say. Is 2.5, 2 3/4 of a star. Heck, I mean, I could go somewhere between 2.5 to 3 stars. Yeah, I'm gonna go somewhere between that. But I'm probably more in the 2.5 range. So yeah, good match for what it was. So, Dee Woodson, what's your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, I go about 2.5 stars. It was, surprisingly very well, and I've always been one of these huggers, so yeah, I very much relate to Bailey, very much so on that, and I thought she worked out really good with New Day. It was a good fit. And Brooks, Dana Brooks did fit pretty well with the club, but yeah, I definitely thought this was a really good match. The girls really, they didn't give you the ho hum stuff. They actually gave you a actual match, and pretty much kept up with the guys in this whole match too. So, for me, like I said, 2.5 stars, and I'll toss it over to you, Florio.
Yeah, another one of the fights of the night here. 2.5 to 3 stars. I might have to bump down the Jericho and Neville match a little bit. I could probably say, I think I could bump Jericho and Neville down all the way down to as far as the 4th best fight, because there were 2 other matches that I thought were better, and this was one of them. This is within that 2 to 3 range. And there's another match we're going to get into in just a moment, which is also in that range as well. But yeah, I mean, 2.5 to 3 stars. I definitely agree with the rating on this. As far as Bailey and New Day go, I mean, I like that she was awestruck by New Day because her character is a WWE fangirl at heart. I'm not so crazy about the ultra-confident Bailey we saw throughout the match. Is that the Vince McMahon vision for the character? I was really hoping they would revert to her being a bit sheepish and intimidated on the main roster. I don't get the sense that Dana and Charlotte have split since Michael Cole still referred to her as Charlotte's protege, though Charlotte did say there's only so much she can do for her after she lost the match. So, but yeah, I mean, good action throughout, and it gets Bailey and Dana Brooke a little relevancy, and it actually makes the New Day and Gallows and Anderson feud for at least this 1 week actually mean something, because what we've seen since their feud started over the tag team titles. I mean, a lot of the matches have been awful and boring and everything else, but this was anything but awful and boring. This was a very good match indeed. One of my top fights of the night for sure. 2.5 to 3 stars, no question about it. So, Michael Fletcher, your thoughts on this 6-person mixed intergender, whatever you want to call it, tag match?
You know what? I gotta say, I even got what actually got me really interested was, I gotta say, even the promos going into it. Like you said, when Bailey saw the New Day first, and they had that, hey, we want some Bailey, and then she turns and does the infamous WWE World Tag Team, but she doesn't get to do the champion because Dana Brooke breaks in and stops. And I love that interaction between Bailey and Dana Brooke. I thought that was actually really good, really solid. And then I loved how how she tried to punk out the New Day, but then the New Day in turn fired a missile back at Dana, and then Bailey with the KO punch, saying that it's been brought, and basically Dana Brooke runs off and the whole 9 yards. Then later on, we had Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson saying that they're no longer doctors now. So now they're gonna try to they're opening a retirement center, and that they got a nurse. Dana was gonna be their nurse, and she shows up and says, "Well, boys, who are you gonna operate tonight?" All right, I'm gonna say it. I know I'm gonna get some heat for it, but I don't give a damn. In the immortal words of Animaniacs, hello, nurse. God dang it, was she looking fine tonight? That's all I'm saying. But I'll say.
Oh, I don't know how you follow that.
But I mean, it was. Didi Woodson, oh brother, sorry Didi, but this is me and the boys, man. This is how we used to do it back in the day.
This is how we roll.
This is how we rolled. But I will say this, it was solid. I liked it, and then we got into the fight, and the match was awesome, man. I mean, this was a 2.5-star fight. I love the interaction on everything else. It's really good that Bayley now looks like she deserves to be in the WWE roster. She looks like she's definitely going to be a major threat now. And for Charlotte, it's really going to be interesting. But one other thing that needs to be addressed is Sasha Banks. They did have an interview with her with Lita, and they talked about, look, I'm going to be fine. I'm just, I'm going to take some time. When I get back at 100%, I'm coming back for that belt. And the real good news that came out of this, that came out a few days ago, was that Sasha does not need surgery. That was the one thing that they were kind of worried about, is that Sasha was going to need surgery on her back, and that she was going to be sidelined for months. Now they're saying she could be back in about they're talking about maybe 3 to 4 weeks that she could be back. So, I mean, you want to talk about dodging a major bullet for WWE. They definitely dodged a major bullet on that. So you definitely got a very loaded WWE Women's Division, well, I should say Raw Women's Division title picture looks pretty loaded right now, where you got Sasha Banks, you're going to have Bayley, you got Charlotte as the reigning champion, even though I think we all could agree Charlotte is just the champion. I think she's just holding the belt for now until either Sasha or Bayley decides, before they decide to push Sasha or Bayley to the belt. I think anybody who's thinking that Charlotte's going to have this long reign like she did the last time, where she was like champion for like 309 days, I'm sorry guys, that's not going to happen now. That is not going to happen, not this time around. It's going to be a lot less. It's not going to be a longer reign. I'm not calling her a transitional champion though. I think she'll hold it for a little bit, but I don't think anybody who thinks that this is going to be another elongated, long out title reign, sorry guys, that's not going to happen here. So with that said, I think I toss it back to you, Florio. I think it goes back to you.
Yes, it does, because Bullock started it off, and oh man, I mean, I knew that Hello Nurse bit was coming. I knew it. I mean, I was getting that feeling in my gut, man, and oh, that was fun. I mean, that was something you and I used to do back in the day. I mean, yeah, the Animaniacs Hello Nurse routine. Oh yeah, awesome. So, I don't know how you can follow that, but well, we're gonna try our best. And before I do want to make a quick point. Like what Fletch just said, this is one of those agree to disagree situations. I agree. It's Charlotte's not going to hold the belt for 309 days. That's for sure. Um, I honestly think she's going to drop it at the Clash of the Champions. I think she's going to. I think it's going to be her and Bayley, and I think Bayley's going to win the belt. I got this feeling in my gut telling me that. So I was right about. Hey, remember last year? When,
I agree with you, Florio. I mean, Bayley's already got 2 wins since debuting on the main roster on Raw. I mean, I even heard rumors that they're really seriously going to push her.
Yes.
But the one thing that I'm afraid of, and Dee Woodson, you can jump in on this if you want to, but don't you think too fast, too soon to strap the title on Bayley? Even though Charlotte, I don't think Charlotte was really the most deserving champion, but because of the injury with Sasha Banks, let bygones be bygones at that situation.
Yeah, it was one of those they had no choice situations. But let
Yeah,
me just
and that's why I said when we did the recap of SummerSlam, because I know Fletch said that there were some people that were pissed off about it. I said I was fine with it, but when I heard the rumors of Sasha taking some time off because of some of the nagging injuries.
yeah, and yeah, that's fine, Bullock. And what I was trying to say was before I got cut off there. What I was trying to say, the point I was trying to make was remember this time last year, Charlotte was only a couple of months into her WWE tenure, and what did they do? They strapped her at Night of Champions. They had her end the 301-day run of Nikki Bella as the Divas champion. So I think Lightning's going to strike twice here. Lightning's going to strike here, and we've seen some what many people would consider too fast, too soon pushes. I mean, 2002, about 4 to 5 months into his WWE tenure, they put the WWE Championship on Brock Lesnar. Remember that when Brock Lesnar defeated The Rock at SummerSlam 2002, he was only in the company for 4 months, 5 months, somewhere in that neighborhood, and they strapped him. You could consider that a bit of a too fast, too soon situation, but it ended up working out great. So, Dee Woodson, I don't know if you wanted to chime in on that. It was just a little small talk.
Well, the thing that popped in my mind was the fact that when Paige came up, they immediately stuck her with a title, and she hadn't even lost the NXT title yet. So
Right, that's right. Yes.
so that was the one thing that popped in my mind with this. Bayley could be the next Paige. And for all we know, it could be favorable. So, I'm not going to go say either way, but if it is Bayley that they put into this picture next, then it'll be good to see the fresh talent and the and everything. 'Cause, like y'all said, she's already pulled off a couple of wins, especially on Dana. So we'll just kind of have to see what happens when we come up to the next pay-per-view.
Yeah, The Rock.
I can't believe we forgot about that with Paige.
Yeah, that was her debut. That was her very first night on the job. The night after WrestleMania 30, she ended the third longest women's Divas title reign in the modern era when she ended the 295-day run of AJ Lee. Sometimes I need a reminder, and Dee Woodson just reminded me. So there you go. All right, but we'll have a lot more to say about it in the weeks to come. But rest assured, September 25th at the Clash of the Champions, it's going to be Charlotte and Bayley for the Women's Championship. And when that does go down, I say Bayley's going to win the belt. That's just how I feel about it. Too fast, too soon, maybe so, but...
I agree with you, Florio. I say she's winning the belt.
Yeah, not in this case. You heard the examples I just gave, so if it worked for them, it'll certainly work for the hugger. So, all right, moving on here. Definitely not a cutoff here. Our next match, another relevant moment here. Match 2 in the best of 7 series between Sheamus and Cesaro. The winner of the match in 11 minutes and 15 seconds. It's Sheamus, and Sheamus is now up 2 matches to none. Okay, what happened was before I tossed it to D.D. Woodson, a wicked spot, and what happened was Cesaro was charging at Sheamus on the floor, which resulted in Sheamus back body dropping Cesaro into that brand new steel ring post, and then Sheamus rolled him inside the ring and applied the cloverleaf for the win, and then trainers checked on Cesaro afterwards. So with that being said, D.D. Woodson, we started off with you. Your thoughts on Sheamus and Cesaro's second match in their best of 7 series? Sheamus is up 2-0.
Oh yeah. And I'm not really surprised that Sheamus is up 2-0 on this. After Cesaro winning the last few matches before this best of 7 started, it was a very nasty fall that Cesaro took, but the match itself I thought was it was fairly good. I'll give it a 2 to 2.5 stars on it. A lot of action, and you can tell these two are bringing their A game. They're showing that they want the prize at the end, and I think Cesaro would have had this in the bag if it wasn't for the nasty fall there. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see if this goes just 4 matches or if it goes all 7. So I'll toss it over to you, Florio.
Yeah, very surprising outcome indeed. I mean, I honestly thought they were going to have Cesaro win here and even in the series. I thought they were honestly going to trade wins back and forth, rotate, until we got to the 7th match. This is going to go the distance. I honestly feel it will go the distance. I still feel it in my bones. It's going to go the distance, but I'm very surprised that Sheamus is now up 2-0 in this best of 7. What a fall that was! That back body drop. My goodness, a wild spot, and I believe the first time we've seen someone go into that new post. I mean, I love that new setup for both shows. Cesaro hit the side, so it wasn't the screen part, and my goodness, they were and those new posts were designed in a way where the wrestlers can be safely run into them. Yeah, that was anything but safe on that. My gosh, but Sheamus up 2-0. That's a little surprising to me. I thought it would have been 1-1 here, but not sure when the 3rd match will be. It'll probably be next week on Raw. I don't know. Maybe, you never know. They could do some matches during live events. I mean, you never know. They could put some of these during live events maybe, because I still think if they go to a 7th match, that they should save that for the Clash of the Champions. That's just how I feel about it. But we'll see. But for right now. I could probably give this about 2.5 stars as well. Probably say 3rd best fight of the night. I think I might give that 6-person mixed tag the 2nd best fight of the night honors. So 3rd best fight of the night, probably about 2.5 stars here. So maybe 2.5 teetering on 3. So Michael Fletcher, your thoughts on Sheamus and Cesaro match 2 in the best of 7 with Sheamus going up 2-0.
Yeah, no, this was a solid fight. I think a lot of people were really surprised that Sheamus won the match, but it was a good battle. I mean, it was another Be a Man fight. It was back and forth, I think. But that nasty bump, I think the one is going to be the biggest takeaway. And I don't know how Cesaro is going to be feeling, especially after he really took a hard shot into that post. I mean, I kind of turned my head for a moment there when I saw it happen. I'm really concerned that, if they don't continue this series, this could be over and done with in 4. So, but I think it'll still go 7, but we'll wait and see what happens. But yeah, bad injury, but hopefully they'll give them some time to recoup and to be, because remember, after that first fight, it was like what, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later before they do fight number 2. So I don't know if they're going to do it next week. I hope not. Maybe give them a little extra time to recuperate so that we can have elongated out. But like you said, I think this will go all 7, and who knows, the series could end at Clash of the Champions. We'll wait and see what happens, but well, we'll see. So on to match 3 when it happens. Bullock, is yours.
Yeah, I give it 2.5 stars as well. And yes, this is a surprising outcome with Sheamus going up 2 nothing. I mean, I thought maybe Cesaro would win and would even up the series, but I do agree. I mean, I think they may need to give them some extended time off, especially extended off between matches, especially after what happened with Cesaro with that nasty fall that he took on that ring post. I mean, I literally cringed when he went off that post. I mean, that was not a pretty sight. I'll tell you that right now. But hopefully Cesaro is okay after that. But yeah, 2.5 stars. So Florio, I say we move on.
And that's exactly what we're going to do, Bullock. Now we have to move on to irrelevant stuff once again. We had another Dud Enhancement squash match. Braun Strowman squashing Americo in 55 seconds, removed his mask and threw it at him. Basically, Americo, a Lucha Underground reject as far as I'm concerned. Something that he could really been a Lucha Underground kind of guy. But new season starts next Wednesday night. Oh, by the way, so and I know Fletcher will get back into that in a couple of weeks as part of his Mikey's Mindset on Cerebral Smack Talk. But all right, we got that irrelevancy out of the way. Now we're back into relevancy here, and oh boy, are we gonna have some fun with this. In-ring segment, we had Monday Night Raw Commissioner Stephanie McMahon coming out, and this was the segment where she was demanding that Paul Heyman come out and explain what about the actions of Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. Not really what he did to Randy Orton, but what he did to Stephanie's brother, Shane McMahon, of course, who is, as we all know, is the commissioner of SmackDown Live. And oh boy, what else is there for me to say except this was the segment of the night? I mean, say what you want about Stephanie McMahon, but she was incredible here. Heyman was money as usual. The purpose of, I know for a lot of people, the purpose of this was truly lost. I mean, the $500 fine says Stephanie basically approved of Lesnar roughing up her brother, which was comical. We were actually hoping she would give Heyman $500 to award to Lesnar for the fight of the night and heal it up. Sure, Stephanie got to make Heyman grovel, but his character acted like he got away with one or outsmarted her, which goes against what we normally see from Stephanie. And I know to some, none of it left anybody really anxious to see where it's going, but I'm intrigued. I want to see where this goes. And Michael Bullock has an interesting scenario, and I know he'll get into that. He'll reiterate his little scenario when we get to him. But first, we're gonna toss it up to the Cerebral Viper, Michael Fletcher. But for me, this was the segment of the night, no question about it. Stephanie was great. Heyman was great. Michael Fletcher, what says you on this?
Yeah, without a doubt, segment of the night. Absolutely thrilling. Great story, to say the very least. Paul Heyman comes out to interrupt Stephanie as she was about to say something, and then Stephanie's like, no, Paul, get in the ring. I want an apology right now, and that's it. And Paul Heyman comes out, and he's like, you know what? From the goodness of my heart, we're here to pay that fine that, we're going to pay that fine that you levied on us for $500. And he had it, and I actually thought he was going to bring out like $5 $100 bills. Oh no, they were $1 bills. There was a huge stack of money that was $100 in ones. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to take hours to do. She got up to 5, and then Stephanie swatted the money and said, don't you ever pull a stunt like that ever again. Do you know who I am? I could make your life a living. You know what? I'm Stephanie McMahon, and this and that. And Paul Heyman was like, you know what? That's fine. And we do apologize for what we did. But I thought you were going to be happy with us for a Raw guy beating up on a SmackDown guy, beating up on Randy Orton. And look, we did not mean for stuff like that to happen to Shane. Shane was you saw how I was pleading with him, how I was begging for see how he's begging for him to stop. You know Lesnar is an indestructible force. What do you want? I was like, sometimes when he gets into rage mode, there's nothing I can do about that. I'm sorry, Steph. But I saw the look, and he's like, you know what? But you're the heir to the throne. You are the queen of this company. This is going to be your company someday. And I want you to know, we sincerely apologize. But I also got that feeling, or that little sense, that Stephanie, be careful trying to reel in Brock Lesnar, because if you push him hard enough, if you try to do something that is not Lesnar's liking, what happened to Shane will happen to your family, will happen to your husband, to your father, to your brother again. Don't mess with the Beast Incarnate, because the next time you try to be all high and mighty, there will be blood. And that blood will be on your hands. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Oh, man. Man, I don't know what else there's to say, except that I do agree. I mean, this was the segment of the night here, without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, Stephanie comes out and, like you said, basically wanted Heyman to apologize, and then Heyman's like, you know what? Heyman's like, you know what? When my client defeated Randy Orton at SummerSlam, that was a victory for your brand, for Raw over Shane's brand SmackDown. Raw basically won SummerSlam thanks to Brock Lesnar. And I get it. When he puts his hand on an official, and hit an F5 on Shane, that Brock crossed the line, and there is no excuse. That's what Stephanie said, and Heyman basically dropped to his knees and basically begged Brock to stop. So he says, you know what? I'm going to pay the $500, and brought out a lot of $1 bills, started counting them. Steph basically slaps him out, and Stephanie was pissed. I mean, she basically says, you know what? You think this is a joke? You know what? I will sing to any death to avenge. And yeah, I mean, and there is a storm coming Heyman's ugly way. And Heyman says, you know what? Brock Lesnar is the storm. And I do apologize. I mean, and basically, he basically understands, and he says that someday, maybe you could be in running the company, and says, it's almost like he says, be careful what you wish for, because Lesnar could not only hurt Shane, but he could hurt the family and maybe even you. So Stephanie accepts the apology and then leaves the ring. And so basically, my thought, and here's what I'm thinking: Shane McMahon, Brock Lesnar at the Survivor Series. What do you guys think? Yay or nay to that?
Let me amend it a little bit. I think what we're going to see is Shane McMahon and a team versus Brock Lesnar and a team. at Survivor
Wait a
Series.
minute. Wait a minute. Is this what I'm like thinking? Like Shane McMahon and his team of SmackDown superstars against Brock Lesnar and his team of Raw superstars?
I could see that. Most definitely, I can see that. I think that would be actually a really
That would make it
good
even more
match.
intriguing.
That would be a really good match. But the thing is, because of the fact that I don't think SmackDown has a really deep roster, and I know Raw is a little more deeper, this is one of the rare times, and I know this might not be popular, but I would go 4-on-4, not 5-on-5. I would go 4-on-4, let these two teams go at it at the Survivor Series.
Interesting.
Yeah, very, very much interesting. No question about
And
that.
have it being the like traditional Survivor Series rules.
Absolutely. I mean, that would make November 20th at the Air Canada Centre in Toronto a very interesting night. What a great way to honor the 30th anniversary of Survivor Series. So that's all there is to say on that. So that was Michael Bullock's little scenario right there. So, Dee Woodson, your thoughts on this segment with Stephanie McMahon and Paul?
Well, it's kind of funny. I think Fletcher and I were channeling the same brainwaves because that was kind of what I was thinking when Bullock asked that same question. But this was, for me, yes, this was a segment of the night. The one thing I caught was every time Heyman went to say "we," he said "I" first. And did anybody catch the little look at the end when Stephanie walked off? The look that Heyman had on his face.
That's
You
Stephanie
know,
McMahon. Oh, like Fletcher and I would always like to say, if looks could kill, ain't that right? Anna?
Exactly.
Yeah, but the thing is, that look that Heyman gave her was, I got you. You're
Right.
mine. Because of the fact that he was able to have her accept that apology, and in a way was also kind of guilt-ridden on that as well. Heyman's got something hanging over her head.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I don't know exactly what Heyman's whole plan was, but he definitely came out there and he definitely double talked his way out of whatever Stephanie originally had planned, to the point to where, it was pretty much Heyman and Brock getting off pretty much scot-free with just a slap on the hand. So this is going to be interesting to see where it's going to lead next, because we already know that Shane's not pleased with his sister on how she's handling this, and that he's already said that he's going to take care of this. So we'll have to wait and see how that comes out. But yeah, I definitely agree. This was the match of the night, though. So I'll toss it back to you, Florio.
You mean the in-ring segment of the night there, Dee Woodson. The match of the night is coming shortly.
I'm tired. I'm sorry.
No worries. No worries. I completely understand. We've all been there. Trust me, we've all been there. But yeah, that's a great idea. I mean, with this being the brand extension and all, that's a great idea. Have a Team SmackDown versus Team Raw traditional Survivor Series elimination match like we saw back in 2005 at that Survivor Series, which the SmackDown team won because of Randy Orton, a night that I'll never forget because Michael Fletcher, bounced around like Tigger, was active bouncing around because of how happy he was when SmackDown won that match. Because he was a SmackDown guy then, he's a SmackDown guy now. Of course, that hurt me because I was a Raw guy then, and I'm a Raw guy now. So, yeah, you were there, Fletch. I do over my house. We watched it together, and one of the great moments that we'll never forget. So, who knows? Maybe we could have. Of course, and mine too, no doubt about it. November 27th, 2005, absolutely. The Joe Louis Arena in Detroit. We'll never forget it. Randy Orton winning that was the sole survivor of that traditional Survivor Series match. So But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens in the future. But hopefully we get that at Survivor Series. That would be awesome and a great way, and I do mean a great way, to honor what will be this year, folks, the 30th anniversary of the Survivor Series. So that's all there is to say on that. All right, back to irrelevancy and cutouts here. We had another pointless match with Darren Young and Titus O'Neil. Darren Young won the match in 4 minutes and 5 seconds. How did he win it? Of course, with a roll-up, whatever. So, yeah. Even though there was one move during this match. When Titus sent Darren Young into the corner and he tumbled over the top and nearly crashed into a cameraman. I mean, that was a sick spot. But other than that, pointless, unnecessary, and I want to read this comment about that Jason Powell made. He said, even a musical breaking out in the middle of Raw wouldn't bore me as much as this dead-on arrival Young versus O'Neil feud. That the words from Jason Powell of ProWrestling.net, and I couldn't agree with him more. Stale, boring, yada yada, whatever. All right, gentlemen and lady, here we go. The moment we've all been waiting for. The Fatal 4-Way. We originally thought it was going to be a one-fall Fatal 4-Way. No, it was a Fatal 4-Way elimination match to determine the second ever WWE Universal Champion. Because Finn Balor was the first. He won it at SummerSlam. 24 hours later, he had to relinquish it because of the shoulder injury. He's out 6 months. Believe me, he'll be back in time for Mania, and I say he's going to get the belt back at Mania. You heard that here first. Now for this. Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, Big Cass. Here we go. It would go 12 minutes. We would have to wait 12 minutes and 45 seconds for the first elimination, and the first man eliminated, Big Cass. Big Cass was eliminated after it was basically a variety of finishes. That's really what it was. Roman Reigns with a Superman punch, a super kick by Rollins, and then Kevin Owens with what we would call a bullfrog splash, if you will, because of his mass. Took care of Big Cass at 12 minutes and 45 seconds. So then it was down to 3. And then this is when it gets really interesting. We have a series of 6 spots, a series of near falls, and just when this thing was on its way to being a 5-star classic, who shows up? Who comes out of nowhere? The King of Kings. Yes, the King of Kings. The Game, the cerebral assassin, Michael Fletcher's idol, the one and only Triple H. Yes, Triple H is back, folks. Triple H pedigrees Roman Reigns outside the ring, and we're thinking, oh, he hasn't forgotten about WrestleMania. Because remember, it was Roman Reigns who took the WWE World Heavyweight Championship from Triple H at WrestleMania. He pedigrees Roman, throws him back in. He throws Rollins back in, throws Rollins onto a cover. 1, 2, 3. There goes Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns eliminated at 23 minutes and 55 seconds. And then we're thinking, oh, here we go. Triple H is going to help Seth Rollins win the title. The Authority is going to reign supreme on Monday Night Raw yet again. Swerve! Surprise! A minute and 20 seconds later, Triple H turns on Seth Rollins, pedigrees Seth Rollins. Kevin Owens covers Rollins. Referee Chad Patton was in perfect position. 1, 2, 3. And ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Owens, fight, is your brand new and second WWE Universal Champion. And the time of the entire match altogether, 25 minutes and 15 seconds. Fight Owens, fight, baby. He is the brand new and second ever WWE Universal Champion. And I believe the lucky individual who gets to start this off is none other than the Cerebral Viper himself, Michael Fletcher. Good old MF. Oh, my man. What else is there to say, MF, except what a match and what a surprise to see your boy, your idol, the Game, Triple H, ruin what was on its way to being a 5-star classic match.
Yeah, it was going to be 5 stars. It's 4.5 stars, but my goodness. Derek Ferreira called Seth Rollins cashing in at WrestleMania WrestleMania 31, the heist of the century. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we saw the swerve of the century, a double swerve. Triple H shows up, pedigrees Roman Reigns to get revenge on WrestleMania and him losing the belt, solidifying that rivalry once again. But then the ultimate swerve, and that is Seth Rollins gets betrayed by his own friend, the man that he dubbed the future of the company, and has swerved him to give a well-deserving Kevin Owens not only the biggest win of his career, but a moment that he's been waiting maybe about 15 years of his actual wrestling lifetime to become the WWE Universal Champion. And I'm going to tell you like this. You want to go with the roller coaster of emotions? I think the IWC is going through that right now, and they're still buzzing at this hour. I mean, it went from, we knew Cass was going to be the first one out, but he did a great performance, so everybody was a little down. Then you had the shock of Triple H coming back, the celebration over Roman Reigns' elimination. Then this is where it gets really interesting because it's probably going to be a 50-50 split. You're going to have a lot of fans of Seth Rollins really pissed off right now, knowing that their guy just got screwed out of the belt. And some are really going to be pumped up, jacked up, going absolutely ballistic that Kevin Owens is now the Universal Champion. So it's kind of 50-50. Where are you on that line? Are you on the happy Owens won the belt, or are you really absolutely furious that Seth Rollins just got robbed of the belt again? Where do you go? So I'm going to tell you, we know what the crowd in Houston felt. You deserved it. You deserve it. I'll tell you one thing. One person who's really ticked off was Seth Rollins, man, because after that, they had a post-fight thing. Rollins was at ringside, and he goes and berates Stephanie McMahon. And Stephanie is like, hey, you back off. You lost this fight tonight. I had no idea my husband was going to do that. I'm just as shocked as you are, but you got to back off, Rollins. I know you're angry, but you got to back off. You don't come at me like that. Don't come at me sideways, because Rollins was like, what the heck? After everything I did for you and your husband, this is how you repay me? I was your champion. I was your future. What the heck was that about? Rollins is furious and has every right to be. But my goodness, what a match. It was an absolute thriller. It was enjoyment. It was absolute Shakespearean drama from beginning to end. And yes, Anthony, I understand it. If it wasn't for Triple H sticking in his nose and kind of doing authority shenanigans, this would have been a 5-star classic. But at thus, I got to give it 4.5 stars. But what a match, man. You can't get any better than this. This saved Monday Night Raw from being a horrific train wreck. It was good for certain parts, and then it kind of was boring, slow in certain parts. But after this fight, man, this took it to a whole new level. Good luck to SmackDown Live to try to top this. Last week we thought SmackDown Live won the week. Monday Night Raw might have done an impossible. SmackDown's going to have the show of their life in order to top what Raw just did tonight, because this was a really good way to close the show. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, definitely the fight of the night, and 4.5 stars. I mean, this was just a tremendous main event here, and I knew this was going to be something good when they made this a four-way elimination match. I mean, it started off with the elimination of Big Cass, and then it was basically, I mean, as the match was going on, I mean, Roman Reigns looked like he was going up for another elimination. All of a sudden, the shocking return of Triple H. He pedigrees Roman Reigns, throws him back in. Seth Rollins gets the cover. We were all thinking, oh boy, Seth Rollins is going over. Wrong! We got thrown for a swerve! Because Seth Rollins gets pedigreed by Triple H, and then Kevin Owens gets the 1, 2, 3, and you could basically see the shocked look on his face. I mean, he didn't know what to do. He gets the pin. Kevin Owens is your new WWE Universal Champion, and Triple H, I mean, he basically went outside, just ripped it right out of the hands of General Manager Mick Foley, and just as Triple H left ringside, he gave a nasty stare to Mick Foley and Stephanie McMahon, and you kind of wonder if he was like, as I'm telling both of them, I should have been the general manager of Monday Night Raw, not Mick Foley. But I think the only man who has the answers to all that is Triple H. And right now, he's not talking. We probably won't know until next week on Monday Night Raw. So, and I do agree, this saved this Monday Night Raw from being an absolute train wreck. So, 4.5 stars. Dee Dee Woodson, I don't know what else there's to say.
No, I don't know what all to say about this either, because y'all kind of covered most of it. But yeah, the looks could kill came from Triple H and Mick Foley tonight. The shock on Stephanie's face and Seth Rollins' face, and the crowd as he basically handed a win to Kevin Owens, who probably could have done it on his own. So it was a 4.5 star match, very good match. It kind of makes me wonder from, a little earlier in the night, Seth Rollins gave Stephanie that hug, and it kind of went on a little bit longer than, a casual hug would go. So I'm kind of wondering if maybe, Triple H sees Seth as coming in on his territory, but, that's just an idea that I'd have on that. But other than that, I give kudos to Kevin Owens. Congratulations on the win. And I can't wait to see how this is going to play out with Triple H, Stephanie, and Mick Foley in the future on how this is going to come out. But 4.5 stars, match of the night, and definitely show saver. So, Florio, what's yours?
Yeah, nothing left to say about it. You guys nailed everything. This was the fight of the night. This was 4.5 stars. If not for Triple H, this would have been a 5-star class. Because let me tell you, I'll even go as far as to say this: in terms of Monday Night Raw, this is Monday Night Raw's match of the year right here. This is the match of the match of the year on the Raw side, hands down. And I can honestly say maybe even TV match of the year. I mean, this was unbelievable. I mean, 4.5 stars, nearly 5 stars. I mean, the Shakespearean drama was at an all-time high. That crowd in Houston was jacked from start to finish. I mean, we got to give it up for that crowd in Houston. We're gonna make sure we mention that when we do our overall review in a minute. But wow, I mean, Triple H showing up, but it was Michael Bullock. Michael Bullock informed me that he saw a photo of Triple H backstage, and we thought it was maybe that we thought they were going to have like some sort of formal ceremony for Mr. Fuji, have the superstars and divas on the stage and whatnot, like they usually do for a serious funeral, a serious passing, which Mr. Fuji was, and then all of a sudden we get Triple H there to impact the main event. I mean, taking out Roman, no big surprise because that was basically payback for WrestleMania after he lost the belt to Roman at Mania in Jerry World earlier this year, and then the swerve of swerves where he turns on Rollins and pedigrees him and allowing Kevin Owens to pick up the scraps and win the Universal title. And so many questions, so many possibilities that this brings. I mean, what does it mean for Clash of the Champions? Now, I read an interesting dirt sheet just recently, and there were major plans for Finn Balor. I mean, if Finn Balor doesn't get hurt, Finn Balor's first challenger at Clash of the Champions was not going to be Roman Reigns or Seth Rollins. It was actually going to be Kevin Owens. So maybe this is why they put it on Owens, since they were going to have Owens possibly go up against Balor if Balor hadn't gotten hurt. I mean, that's what I read, and some other things went down and the whole 9 yards. But nonetheless, though, Kevin Owens wins the title, and the IWC crowd was very pleased with that. They did the "You Deserve It" as they closed, and I mean, wow! I mean, what a moment! One of the best Monday Night Raw main events in quite a while. Even though we've had some good main events this year. I mean, look at Roman and Jericho from last week. That was a very good main event. Or that match with Balor and Roman. I mean, that was a very good main event too. But to me, this was the Monday Night, not only the best main event of Raw this year, but also the match of the year for Monday Night Raw, as far as the Raw side of the ledger goes. I mean, my goodness, what a match this was. An instant classic, and a match that we're all going to be talking about for many, many years to come. I mean, that's how unbelievable it was. And remember, Triple H is in charge of a certain developmental brand, folks. It's called NXT. Where did Kevin Owens originate from? NXT. You solved the puzzle. That's all I can say about that. Maybe this could be an NXT thing. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But who's the face here? I mean, is Owens a baby? Has Owens turned face here? Are they turning Rollins face? Because they've been wanting to turn Rollins. They've been wanting.
I think it's Rollins and Roman both turns faces here. They keep Roman as a face. They turn Rollins as a face. Owens is nuclear heel now because he's going to be aligned with Triple H.
Very good point. Very good point. And I wouldn't be surprised if this leads into maybe a triple threat at Clash of Champions with Owens versus Rollins and Reigns, or maybe they have Rollins and Reigns in a contender match, and whoever wins goes up against Owens for the title at Clash of the Champions. So we're just going to have to wait and see how this plays out. But you want to talk about being intrigued? Oh, yeah, we're intrigued. 4.5 stars, fight of the night, and oh, by the way, the match of the year on the Monday Night Raw side. So, all right, time for our overall review. Michael Bullock, you started off your overall thoughts on this wild and crazy Monday Night Raw tonight in Houston.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, like we just said, that if it weren't for the main event we had, this was going to be an absolute train wreck. But because of this, I'm actually going to give it somewhere between 6.5 out of 10. I mean, it was sort of like it was an average Monday Night Raw, to say the very least. But if it weren't for that main event, I could have ranked this even lower. Could have given it maybe a 5 or maybe even a 4 out of 10. But the main event and everything that we saw at the end of the main event really saved this show from being a total mess. So 6 to 6.5 out of 10. D.D. Woodson, what says you?
I'd agree with that. It's, a lot of things happened tonight on the show, and a lot of it positive and a lot of it negative, and a lot of quote junk that was just worthless and not worth any time to even be on the show. But in the end, they pulled it off and gave us something that we could look forward to and everything. So yeah, I'll agree with the rating, and I will see you all tomorrow night. Good night.
All right, good night, Didi Woodson, and we will see you tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk, no doubt about it, on Fletcher's channel, BraceFan 95. So, as far as I'm concerned, I think the rating is correct, 6 to 6.5 out of 10, maybe even teetering on 7. If I'm going to be real honest, because we had 4 quality matches on this show. Of course, the main event stole the show. Let's not kid ourselves. I mean, like I said, best main event best TV main event we've seen this year. I don't think we're going to see a better TV main event than that. I mean, unbelievable. 4.5 stars for that Universal 4-way elimination match. And then from there, you had that 6-person mixed tag with Bailey and the New Day against Dana Brooke and Gallows and Anderson. Surprisingly, second best fight of the night. And then third best fight, I would have to say, was Sheamus and Cesaro in their match 2 of the best of 7. And then rounding out my top 4 would be Chris Jericho and Neville. Those 4 matches were all solid to good to great. And then you had those 2 good in-ring segments with that opening segment with the 4 men with Corey Graves and then the chaos that broke loose. That was the second best. And then of course that awesome segment with Stephanie McMahon and Paul Heyman, and that was it. And then of course we had 2 duds, and then we had our weekly Braun Strowman squash. We had our weekly Nia Jax squash. And then we had another pointless and unnecessary match with Titus O'Neil and Darren Young, and then Sami Zayn and Jinder Mahal. That was a waste of time as well. So, so 6 to 6.5 out of 10. Definitely the rating for this Monday Night Raw, this wild and crazy Monday Night Raw. So, Michael Fletcher, finish off this overall review.
Yeah, 6.5 is my rating for tonight, and it will really save the show from being an absolute train wreck. Like we said, the main event. And the picture is worth 1,000 words, man. The one that everybody's going to be waking up to in the morning, the one that everybody's been talking about, is the fact that Kevin Owens is the Universal Champion. How unbelievable is that? Did anybody in their wildest minds think going into tonight that Kevin Owens was going to be walking out as the Universal Champion? I don't think nobody did. I think a lot of people thought it was either going to be Roman Reigns. A lot of people thought it was going to be Seth Rollins. Owens was maybe 3rd on that list, and now he's the champion because of Triple H. So many storylines breaks out on this one, guys. There's really nothing more to say. It was just a historic night, a great night. Florio, it's time for your Tony's Take. It's all yours.
Yes, sir. Tony's Take time is here, and it's now. And you know how we started off. We're going to start it off with my review of the latest installment of the WWE Cruiserweight Classic that went down at Full Sail University in Orlando, airing exclusively on the WWE Network. And I can honestly say, I mean, every show has been great, but I can honestly say this was the best show I've seen yet. 3 matches on the card, and let's start it off. We had Rich Swann going up against Lince Dorado. Winner of the match in 8 minutes and 20 seconds via pinfall. It was Rich Swann. Rich Swann advances to the next round. 3.5 stars is my rating for this match. I mean, that was a very good match to start off the show. I love both guys and hated to see one of them lose. But I love that Swann is moving on. He's very good, has great charisma, but I think we haven't seen the best from him yet. So 3.5 stars for that one. And believe it or not, even with that 3.5 star rating, this was my default worst fight of the night, even though it was nothing bad about it whatsoever. Next up, we had Zack Sabre Jr. going up against Drew Gulak. Winner of the match via pinfall in 8 minutes and 30 seconds. Zack Sabre Jr. goes over. He advances to the next round. This was my fight of the night. 4 stars is my rating. I mean, what else is there for me to say except this was a tremendous technical display with the crowd reacting very well to everything they did. and resulting in an excellent effort that shows that the grappling style doesn't have to be slow or boring. Both men showed great aggression and also provided a completely different match than the opener, while also showing how to make the absolute best of their time. Incredible. Another one of my fights of the tournament for sure. And then the final match of the evening, we had T.J. Perkins going up against Johnny Gargano, Johnny Wrestling. Winner of the match via submission in 12 minutes and 31 seconds and advancing to the next round. Yes, T.J. Perkins advances into the next round. 3 3/4 stars. This was my second best fight of the night by a smidge. I mean, let me see. What do we have here? They did a really good job here with Gargano playing the resilient face that just couldn't overcome. The only real downfall was that while Gargano was selling the knee issue, Perkins never really invested the time to take full advantage of the story they were given. The story was good, but would have hit the next level if Gargano had to fight through more than the established injury, as Perkins cutting him off and trying to break him down would have greatly added to what they did. But to their credit, they did a great job of working a match that was different from the previous two, which highlights the styles and makes the show even better. Gargano is going to be such a great and sympathetic face for NXT and the WWE. So we have our final 8. Gran Metalik, Kota Ibushi, Akira Tozawa, Noam Dar, The Brian Kendrick, Rich Swann, Zack Sabre Jr., and T.J. Perkins. I'm not sure which matchups we're going to see on the next show. They didn't really say. My overall review for this, it's between 8.5 to 9 out of 10. This was a very good episode of the show this week, with all 3 matches being different and worth your time. And the WWE Cruiserweight Classic continues to be a breeze to watch and a highlight of the week. That is all there is to say on that. So I am continuing to love this this Cruiserweight Classic, and September 14th, that's the day. I mean, I cannot wait for that day because that's the finale of it. It's a 2-hour finale, and I'm going to tell you all right now, there's one match in particular that I want to see in the final. I'm hoping for it, and we can get it because they're both on the opposite sides of the bracket. I want to see Zack Sabre Jr. going up against Kota Ibushi. If we get that in the final, holy crap, that is going to be unreal. That is all I can say about that. So, wow. If we get Sabre and Ibushi in the final, that's 5 stars waiting to happen. You already know that. So, all right. So with that being said, let's move on to Impact Wrestling, and we had a shocking moment on this Impact Wrestling, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. We started it off with the Open Invitational Battle Royal to determine the #1 contender to the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. In this match, we had the Bromans, Eli Drake, the Tribunal, Grado, Mahabali Shera, the Miracle Mike Bennett, Moose, and Eddie Edwards. When all was said and done, the time of the fall was 9 minutes and 50 seconds. The winner of the Battle Royal and #1 contender for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship, the Miracle, Mike Bennett. Mike Bennett wins the Battle Royal. This, to me, was the second best fight of the night. Solid 3 stars. I mean, when you have such a limited roster, I do have a little bit of a gripe, though. When you have such a limited roster, why are you exposing it in one single match? TNA is not the only company that made this mistake, because WWE has done this on their thin SmackDown roster on occasion. Even though Lashley was mediocre from a broadcasting perspective, his reactions were natural and didn't detract from his story. He said the King of the Mountain title is garbage. He's absolutely right. And he also said the guys in the ring were not threats, and in most cases, he's right aside from Bennett, Moose, and Edwards. TNA should have found a way to isolate this towards spotlighting the aforementioned trio rather than spotlight their thin talent pool. I would have been just fine with a triple threat match myself with Bennett, Moose, and Edwards to determine the #1 contender. I would have been more than fine with that. But the Battle Royal, even though it was a fine Battle Royal, like I said, I'm actually going to tweak that to between 2.5 and 3 stars. But it was my second best segment of the night. Fight of the night, rather. And then we had Broken Matt Hardy, and he brings Jeff out, and they did their little segment, and then the Decay comes out, they interrupt, and they go at it, and then it leads into a match with Jeff Hardy going up against Abyss, and the Monster Abyss wins this match in 7 minutes and 20 seconds. This was my third best fight of the night, 2.5 stars. The Hardy stuff is still consistently entertaining, but I feel we were missing something from the Decay end. Maybe a cinematic to redirect Decay away from Bram and onto the Hardys. By the way, is Bram dead or coming into play in the title match? Who knows? I felt like we were missing something from Decay because they seem very paint by the numbers on this show. So, and then we had a 5-way no disqualification match for the TNA Knockouts Championship. Sienna versus Marty Bell versus Madison Rayne versus Jade versus Allie. Winner of the match in 4 minutes and 24 seconds. It's Allie. Allie is the brand new TNA Knockouts champion. Okay. This to me was the worst fight of the night. I can only give it about 1.5 to 2 stars. Something seems to be a bit off on this show. I gave TNA the benefit of the doubt last week for having just a run-of-the-mill episode, but but on this show it seemed like they were stepping back into some of the problems TNA had in 2015, which were an improvement from 2014. But the main problem is rushed storylines. And it seems like we could have had a storyline involving Allie somehow to build sympathy for her, but it looks like they have squandered that story to have a not-so-big moment. But it's going to lead to something interesting down the road. So 1.5 to 2 stars. It was my second. It was the worst fight of the night for me. No question about that. Fact of Life segment with the entire X Division in the ring with Eli Drake. This was another good segment. There was some good in this segment. Mostly from Spud, but Rockstar Spud and the guys have nothing to work with. The X Division is a pointless entity of guys with no individuality. Josh Matthews calls them collectively as the stars of the X Division, and that sort of just equates them to being meaningless undercard guys. That's all I can say on that. So now we move on to the main event of the evening. This was to determine the number 1 contender for the World Heavyweight Championship at Bound for Glory. Ethan Carter III putting his title shot on the line against Drew Galloway. Special guest referee Aaron Rex. Winner of the match in 12 minutes and 42 seconds. Ethan Carter III, he keeps his title shot. No question about it. Far and away, this was the fight of the night. 3.25 to 3.5 stars. Technique-wise, it was great. Psychology-wise, that match was extremely flawed, though. Part of it was the Impact Zone crowd, but I'm not going to put the full blame on them because they've been good up to that point by providing energy throughout and even cheering Eli Drake at points. When you can't surpass Eli Drake's pop, you know something must be wrong. There were also a lot of kicking out of finishers in this one, but the crowd didn't buy into any of the near falls. Part of it was due to the steam being let out of Drew Galloway over the last few months. And what happened with Drew Galloway? Well, Drew Galloway turned heel. Drew Galloway turns heel because he attacked Aaron Rex after the match, and he just basically beat the snot out of him after the match. And because of all the steam being let out of Galloway, this heel turn had no impact. He also just beat the cameo guy, Aaron Rex, who was there just to be on camera, it seems. Right now, I'm not too high on the Galloway heel turn because he was such a great natural babyface. Why I say that? The last time we saw Galloway as a heel on national television, he was about 23 years old as the boring Drew McIntyre character, who was good in the ring, but boring as a heel. I have confidence in Drew to have learned from past mistakes, but I'm not sure if the writing will fully support him, especially when he has to carry the former Damien Sandow with him. And you know it's going to lead to a match between the two of them at Bound for Glory. So overall, this episode of Impact could have been worse. We've seen worse in recent years, but this still wasn't all that good. I gave him the benefit of the doubt last week for slowly progressing storylines, but this week they took the opposite approach to many by rushing through several, like the Knockouts, Decay, and Galloway EC3. We also had 2 number 1 contendership matches when you think it would be a bit more economical to just focus all of your efforts into booking slowly towards Bound for Glory. I hope this accelerated booking philosophy is not directly correlated with Billy Corgan as president. Not a great episode of Impact, which is a departure from the consistently good episodes we've gotten this year. Let's hope they get back on track next week by slowing things down, but it's tough with the flawed Alley storyline and yet another pointless X Division spot fest on the horizon. So I could probably give this about 5.5 to 6 out of 10 at the best, if I'm going to be real honest with you. So, but yeah. But all right, now we move on to what we can expect on the next edition of Impact Wrestling coming up this Thursday night on Pop TV, and I just want to make sure I have the right spoilers for you, of course. All right. this is what we're going to see on Impact this Thursday night. And if I miss anything when you watch it, I apologize. In-ring segment with the Miracle Mike Bennett. Moose is going to get involved in that as well. And I think Bobby Lashley gets involved as well. They basically actually make the title match with Lashley and Bennett. And we're going to get into that in a moment. Then we had an Ultimate X Gauntlet match. Yes, Ultimate X is back, folks. Ultimate X Gauntlet match for the vacant X Division Championship. We had Rockstar Spud, Braxton Sutter, Mandrews, Andrew Everett, Trevor Lee, and DJZ. We're going to crown a new X Division champion in that Ultimate X Gauntlet match. One-on-one match, we're going to have Ethan Carter III going up against Eli Drake. That should be an interesting match. In-ring segment with Drew Galloway. And then we have Ali. Ali comes out for what ends up being Ali's going to come out and celebrate her Knockouts championship. Let's just say Maria Kanellis is going to get involved and something interesting is going to come out of that. Let's just say that. And then the main event of the evening, TNA World Heavyweight Championship match, no disqualification match, Bobby Lashley versus the Miracle Mike Bennett. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what you're going to see on Impact Wrestling this Thursday night at 8 Eastern on Pop Television. So, all right, that puts the bow on this edition of Ridiculously Raw. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in. It's now time for our shout-outs. And Michael Bullock, we're going to start it off with you. And then you can give it to Michael Fletcher. And then I'll set up some very exciting future content, to say the very least. So, Bullock, it's all yours.
All right, of course, we want to thank you all so very much tuning in for another edition of Ridiculously Raw. Of course, shout-outs to all of our tremendous fans and viewers for continuing to support our show, whether it's this, the Cerebral Smack Talk, or our Strictly Sports shows. Of course, shout-outs to our other super fans, Kevin Woodson and the rest of the Woodson family, and of course Matt Ward and Jason Hixenbaugh. Of course, shout-outs to all of our friends from our high school days, Al Bredderson, Jimmy Alden, Rob Parsons, Eric Carrier, Tom Souza, the First Lady of the Wrestling Forum, Megan Silva, the First Lady of Strictly Sports, Kaiser Butler. So, yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for me. So, until later on tonight for another edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk, this is the Phenom Mike Bullock saying thank you all so very much for tuning in. Of course, you know the routine. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. Throw it up Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, and enjoy your Tuesday, everybody. So, Fletcher, your shout-outs.
First off, I want to say thank you to all the great fans out there for making the Ridiculously Raw as awesome as it's been. You guys are the best fans in the world. To my friends in the junior high and high school days, you guys know who you guys are. To the 2184 crew, love you guys as always. And, of course, to the super fans, you guys already know who you guys are. All right, so tonight on Cerebral Smack Talk, I got a lot of stuff. First off, I got is, of course, SmackDown Live. We're going to have the fallout from that show. Then I also got I actually got Ring of Honor news because they had the show over the weekend, so I'll talk about that as well. And then one special thing. This past Sunday night from Mexico City was Triple A's Triple Mania 24. That's right. This is their version of Triple A's WrestleMania, and a lot of Lucha Underground superstars was on this show. Therefore, I'm going to recap that show for you guys. And let me tell you, history was made on so many levels. However, the show itself, not so good. You'll know why I said that in just a little bit. But until then, and then of course, if there's any RWA news, I'll let you know at that point. But until then, that's going to go down 10:30 Eastern tonight, BravesFan95 on YouTube.com. Until then, it's Mike Fletcher. You know the routine. Jose and Pounds. I'm out. Anthony, take it home.
All right, will do indeed, Michael Fletcher. We are going to wrap it up here. Of course, special shout out to all of our tremendous fans and viewers who continue to make Ridiculously Raw, the Cerebral Smack Talk, and Strictly Sports as over as they are. We appreciate it as always. Best fans in the world, you already know that. And then our usual shout-outs, of course, Dee Dee Whitson, our Twisted Angel and our First Lady of the Wrestling Forum. She did a tremendous job, as always. Shout out to her and Kevin and the entire family. Of course, Matt Ward, our friend and insider. The Realm Report, blogspot.com. Check it out. It's a great read. We got two great reads between Ward's Realm Report blogspot site and Derek Ferrera's sports blog. I mean, we got two phenomenal reads right there. They're both must-reads. You got to check them out. They're great. And then from there, Jason Hicksonbaugh, Daniel Luttrell from the UK, our other First Ladies, Kaiser Butler with Megan Silva and Lexi Calloway, and the rest of our crew, Tommy Souza, Eric Carrier, Jimmy Alden, Al Bradison, and Rob Parsons, and of course, last but not least, the Hardcore Pipe Bomb himself, Derek Ferrera, and that'll do it for my shout-outs. I'll save the rest of mine for we'll save it for Thursday night. And yes, I said Thursday night, not Friday night. Notice I didn't say Friday night. We're going to get into that right now as we set up the future content. Of course, Michael Fletcher just already laid the groundwork down, the schematic, if you will, for our upcoming edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk tonight, where we're going to review SmackDown Live. And then Fletcher will have his loaded Mikey's Mindset with the ROH and the Triple Mania. I'm looking forward to hearing about that. And there's one thing that they announced for SmackDown Live tomorrow night, and that is Daniel Bryan is going to address The Miz after that unbelievable moment during that Talkin' Smack show last week, which, exploded all over social media. So Daniel Bryan is going to address that. Oh, boys, that should be a load of fun. I'll tell you that right now. And that's on Tuesday night. And then Thursday night, ladies and gentlemen, at 10:30 Thursday night, we are going to have the season premiere of Strictly Sports College Football Thursday. Oh, are we excited about that? A loaded week one. And I can honestly say it may be the most loaded and maybe the most exciting opening kickoff weekend I've seen based on the matchups. I went down them the other night, and check them out. Find the schedule if you can, and you'll know why it's a loaded show, and I can't wait. We're only going to talk about those top 25 games. That's it. There's no power rankings. That'll come the following week, I'm sure. So that's it for that. And no show on Friday night because we are going to have our Strictly Sports Fantasy Football Draft. That'll be on ESPN.com. 4 spots have been filled. Myself, Derek Ferrera, Michael Fletcher, and Fletcher's buddy Kenny Andrade. We got 4 men. We got a quarter of the way there. There's still 12 spots open. We're hoping to get those filled before then. Easier said than done, I know. And then I also created a Strictly Sports Pigskin Pick'em League on ESPN.com. Check that out if you want, if you're interested. So that's it. So that'll put the bow on this edition of Ridiculously Raw. Thank you all so very much for tuning in. And until later tonight for another all new edition of Cerebral Smack Talk on Fletcher's channel, BraceFan 95. You've been watching Ridiculously Raw right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube.com. For now, Ridiculously Over Anthony Florio, for the Cerebral Viper Michael Fletcher, for the Phenom Michael Bullock, for the Twisted Angel and First Lady of the Wrestling Forum Dee Dee Woodson, and the Hardcore Pipe Bomb Derek Ferrera. You know routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. Throw it up Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Tuesday, everybody. And remember, no matter what anyone tells you, wrestling is indeed actually real. Good night, everybody.